Hi, friend. Welcome to Holly's Highlights, a podcast designed to encourage, inspire, and equip you to intentionally live your life full of purpose. I'm your host, Holly Kirby, motivational speaker, leadership cultivator, marketing strategist, and personal cheerleader. Let's check out today's highlight. This episode brought to you by Wolf & Company Certified Public Accountants. Are you an employee looking for high-quality tax, advisory, and accounting services? Wolf & Company is committed to a proactive approach where they strive to help hardworking taxpayers keep what they earn with detailed bookkeeping and strategic tax planning. Their goal is to be a trusted partner in your success. How about you business owners? Wolf & Company also has extensive experience with business owners, investors, and real estate developers, helping them reduce taxes through various tax solutions. With over 25 years of experience in public accounting, working closely with businesses and high net worth individuals, business sectors serviced include construction, real estate, investors, nonprofit organizations, trusts, retail, service, high technology, manufacturers, restaurants, professional corporations, and venture capital. Or perhaps you need some specialized business consulting and tax planning, including choice of entity and planned giving, or estate and gift tax planning. At Wolf & Company, they are responsive to change in their clients' businesses and continually strive to improve the quality of professional services, all while staying committed to developing the trust of their clients. Connect with Wolf & Company at wolftaxcpa.com. That's Wolf, WOLFF, taxcpa.com. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics data, unemployment is around 3.7%. It's up a bit of their projected 3.5%. And compared to during the COVID-19 pandemic, reaching 14.8%. They continue to report that over 6 million are unemployed, yet only a little over 1 million are actually claiming unemployment benefits. And although some job markets are recovering, many employers are still struggling to fill their open positions. We see this in stores closing early, some restaurants suffering with slow service due to staff shortage, or even having to close their dining rooms and what they offer, such as, are they going to provide drive-through, or are they going to provide third-party services? Just things like that when they're in a crunch. I actually had a friend bring me a meal the other day, and it took her 45 minutes just because they were such short-staffed. So there's hiring signs and staff shortage signs regarding be kind to those who show up, which is so true. Make sure you're kind to those who are actually showing up at their jobs, but they're plastered everywhere. So it begs the question with all of this, where are all of the people? Well, today we have with us Tracy Harris Belknap and Melissa Stark, who are both pros with Department Workforce Services. Tracy Harris Belknap has proudly worked for Department Workforce Services for 25 years and currently as a state program specialist, spearheading online, live virtual, and in-person employment success workshops and overseeing the statewide workshop team. Tracy's role includes coordinating training for Workforce Services new employees and incumbent training, including supporting state program specialists with instructional design, training skills, coordinating with service area training coordinators, monitoring quality training delivery, and navigating the internal career management system. As you'll hear her in a bit, her favorite part of training is inspiring, motivating, and connecting with staff and customers. So she is a perfect fit for today's show. Tracy, thank you so much for taking time to be with us today.
Holly, thanks for having me. We're excited.
We also have with us Melissa Stark. She was appointed in August 2019 as Commissioner of Apprenticeship Programs, housed within the Department of Workforce Services after the Utah legislature created the position earlier that year. Now, over the past 3 years, she's worked with apprentices and sponsors to better understand the perceptions, the needs, the challenges, and the opportunities for expanding apprenticeships here in Utah. She has also led the creation and outreach efforts of Apprenticeship Utah and Apprenticeship Utah Network. Now, prior to her position, Melissa has more than 26 years experience at Workforce Services. She's gained a broad range of experience as an industry lead. I mean, come on, 26 years, it's amazing. She's done grant specialist and leading the Department Employment Initiative programs. Melissa has led Utah's efforts in building education and industry partnerships through the Utah Cluster Acceleration Partnership and the Talent Ready Utah grants. In this capacity, she worked closely with state leadership in education and multiple industries to build workforce pathway programs, the apprenticeship programs, and other on-the-job training programs. So again, just amazing. Melissa, welcome. We are so excited to learn from you today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited that you're talking about this topic about where are all the people and then how do we help employers find them? And then also sharing how apprenticeships are just something different that some may not either be aware of or have tried in the past to try to engage people and get them to apply for their positions.
Absolutely. Now, we truly have the best of the best with us today, and we have so much to unpack. So let's just dive right into that first question of what are people looking for in a job these days?
Well, Holly, that is a great question. And, in addition to competitive pay, which is always at the top of the wish list for candidates, we know that today's job candidates are seeking other incentives, like maybe sign-on bonuses, flexible schedules, remote and telework opportunities. And we have seen with Gen Z individuals, they really want to add value in their life through their work. They want to make a contribution and feel a sense of community while also making a positive impact in the lives of other people. Another consideration that people are looking at is not wanting to go back to jobs where they could get let go, where they can be downsized, or jobs that are not recession proof. And according to a February 2022 Gallup poll, here's the top things that job candidates are seeking. They're looking for significant increase in pay and benefits. They want a greater work-life balance and better personal well-being. They want opportunities where they can do their best and use their strengths. They also want greater stability and job security, as we just talked about. And they're looking at what are the COVID policies? Are they within my belief system, at the place where I'm going to be working? And another really important factor was that the organization valued diversity and inclusiveness. So really the bottom line is knowing what job candidates are seeking for their next job. It's essential for organizations to attract and keep top talent.
I think 3 you hit on, I hear time and time again, the greater work-life balance, the diversity and inclusiveness, and then that wanting to make that positive contribution in their community. Those are huge. So what are some of the challenges employers are facing in recruiting that top talent?
Oh my goodness, I think you talked about it in your intro. Our unemployment rate is so low. And then our job participation rate is higher than it has been, especially here in Utah, but there's also a large number that has left the workforce. This is due to early retirements. Might be people that were thinking, they were kind of on the cusp, weren't really sure if they were going to retire. And once COVID hit, they thought, we really should take that opportunity to be with my family, to do some of the things that I wish I had done previously, and to really just again, make that work-life balance for myself that I hadn't necessarily done previously. And so, the interesting thing is you talked about the national rate of unemployment in Utah. It's even a bigger issue. Our unemployment rate in Utah is only 2%. That's really, really low. That's, when we consider that we're at full employment, that's usually around the 3% range. So right now, there's approximately 3 open jobs for every 1 person that's looking. And so we see that is what they're struggling with, is they're competing with other industries. You have a large number of people that Tracy mentioned had left their jobs to change into other careers. And so that has presented a challenge. So not only did they have the shutdowns, but those that normally would have worked there aren't coming back because they're looking for other opportunities. But then that presents some skills challenges as well. So not only are there not enough people, but who may not have the right skills for those positions. And then they're also facing some retention issues because people feel okay about leaving positions for better opportunities. And if they're not seeing an opportunity within the organization that they're at, then they are going to find it somewhere else.
Yeah, very good point. That is a shocking number, 3 jobs for every 1 person. Wow, that's huge. Now, we hear so much about people reevaluating what they do, just as you shared, and even where they're going to do it. So during COVID, an acquaintance of mine even moved his family back east to be near the lakes while they worked and did school from home, of course, as most people were doing school from home. And then they moved back here to Utah when it was time to go back into the office or when school was going to go back in session. But this whole COVID upheaval seems to have people looking for what some refer to as meaningful work. So again, what does that look like in companies today? So you kind of touched on that and what those who are looking for a job are looking for that to mean, but what does that look like in our companies?
I think we've seen some examples of companies that have embraced remote work since the pandemic. Some of it was obviously forced, but some of that also presented really some benefits to people, both the employer and to the individual, because they're able to access some talent that they might not have been able to access previously, maybe some rural talents that they hadn't had access to. But really, it takes some personal accountability when you're teleworking. Because you need to make sure that you have the setting which you can do your work in. You're not being distracted by things around you. We still are expected to be professional at our jobs, right? So, pets, kids, maybe even parents, anyone that we might be taking care of, what does that look like? And what do we need to do ourselves so that we can be successful at our jobs? But also when we're looking at doing more Zoom meetings, more online meetings, what are we doing to be actively participating? What does that look like for us? Because we don't want to be left behind or look like we're disengaged. And so, as much as it's presented some good things, it's also presented some challenges, but we do have examples of companies that have totally embraced this. The Workflow Academy, they actually offer curriculum, online curriculum for an IT setting or CRM type positions, but they also themselves hired apprentices because they thought not only are we creating curriculum for other people, but we need the individuals to help create this curriculum and help train and help provide technical assistance. And so they were able to do that themselves by hiring people in remote areas. That is one area that they are emphasizing. How can they give these people opportunities that may not have had them in the past? And then, we've even seen within the state, our state organizations had been challenged to look at ways to embrace telecommuting. And there were positions previously that we thought never would we be able to say you could work from a remote location. No, you had to be in the office 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, if you were going to be successful in that position. But we've proven otherwise. Our governor has fully supported that, and he has pointed us in the direction to see how else we can do that, not only because it provides work-life balance, but there's a cost savings to the state and also helps with our air quality when we don't have as many people on the road during high ozone days in the summertime. We have the Rural Workforce Network, which is a partnership with the Salt Lake Chamber, the Department of Workforce Services, the Economic Development Corporation of Utah. And it really helps companies along the Wasatch Front connect to remote workers in rural areas. And so that's an opportunity that is new in the last couple of years that we've been able to help them with. In July of 2022, the employers that have been participating in the Rural Workforce Network include 33 employers. Doesn't sound like a lot given the number of employers we have in the state, but they've been able to post 303 jobs and hire 393 people in a rural community. That's big when we talk about rural communities because they are smaller in size, right? To think that 33 companies have been able to hire almost 400 people from rural areas to work for them, that speaks a lot to the project and to the work that people are providing. Meaningful work means something different to each person, but what it means in general is that they feel like they're contributing to their community, they're helping others, and then that brings them more than just happiness. It brings them a sense of purpose, and they have those long-term feelings, internal feelings of what they get from doing that type of work, which makes them want to stay there.
I think that's awesome how people are able to now be able to live where they want and have the life they want to have, and yet still tap into that purposeful work, as you just put it, and feel that fulfillment in their jobs. That's awesome. Now, with the pandemic, a new focus has been put on mental health too, and just overall burnout that people have experienced and even are still continuing to experience. So what do companies need to be aware of, or perhaps assistance offered as part of their benefit packages now that they haven't even thought of before?
We have heard that when you make mental health a priority within a company, it's part of the culture. It's not just, hey, we have mental health benefits, but they actually encourage people to use them. They talk about it. They don't just have it on a list that you see during your open enrollment period once a year. It's something that they are actively embracing. And when they're working with their team members and their staff, they kind of know when something's not quite right. And rather than cry, they make things available to them. They remind them, hey, we have these opportunities. They encourage using sick leave for mental health days. They might even provide additional leave hours for their mental health days. And so really, as a state, we've seen an increase in this emphasis within our organizations. We've also heard and seen more about it in social media settings from our chambers and from individual organizations of how they're partnering with some of these community organizations that can provide additional mental health benefits.
I think you tapped into such value there when you mentioned it's a part of their culture too. And not only offering it, but continuing to encourage it and talk about it, and then go above and beyond, like you were mentioning, offering the sick days or the mental health days to be able to support it then too. So how important that is a part of our culture overall. Now, the whole process of recruiting and hiring and retaining employees is ever changing through, let's call it, this post-pandemic world also. So what do companies of all industries need to be aware of and perhaps implement in their own processes of recruiting, of hiring, and of retaining those team members or those employees?
Sometimes we talk about those hidden gems and those best kept secrets in your state. I think people either don't realize the scope and the broadness that workforce services has. And I like to call us one of the hidden gems in the state because we do have opportunities to help employers. That's what we're here to do. We're here to help employers recruit and hire and retain employees through different programs like on-the-job training, through internships, through registered apprenticeships. Sometimes there's the possibility of accessing financial incentives for these programs. Apprenticeships, these are a great opportunity that provide a combination of on-the-job training and classroom instruction. That gives someone the ability to apply the things that they're learning while they're learning them. But with an apprenticeship too, you're hired by an employer, you have competitive wages, you receive incremental wage increases, as well as industry recognized credentials and a national certification when you complete this program. And the employers that hire apprentices enjoy having a 93% retention rate of apprentices that stay with their companies once they complete their program. And so I think that speaks to them being invested in. But Workforce Services offers other career and education programs also to help connect employers with potential employees. These are opportunities that we provide to individuals that are looking to upgrade their skills. Well, then we make sure that the employers know, hey, we have a database of individuals that they can access when they are hiring and posting their jobs. And I think now actually 180,000 individuals that are looking for jobs. So when we talk about our unemployment rate and those that are looking for jobs that are unemployed, that number's in the 50 to 60,000 range. Well, that shows you that if we have a database of 180,000, that there are people that are still looking for opportunities. So just because we have a low unemployment rate doesn't mean that there aren't people that are looking, or even people within their own organizations, they may be able to upskill. So again, we have workforce development specialists all across the state that can help employers in each service area, is what we like to call it, or each region of the state. So they know that area of the state really well and can help employers with those needs. We also have ways to help you diversify your workforce. We have different divisions within our agency. So we have refugee services, we have veteran services, we work with people with disabilities. All of these are different entities within our organization that we can help connect employers to as what we like to call untapped labor pools. Maybe they haven't thought about hiring an individual from these different backgrounds, and we can help them connect to them, but also help provide what we call wraparound supports, if you will, to help them be successful in their job. So maybe they need childcare or access to transportation. Those are things that we can help connect them to. And then again, we talked about some financial incentives. There could be tax credits. There are tax credits that you receive up to $9,600 when you hire someone within a specific population. And there's different ones that you can access there. During our fiscal year 2022, there were more than 1,500 refugees that came to Utah. This includes 920 Afghans and approximately 150 Ukrainians. And 38% of refugees are very well educated and can benefit your workforce. And so this is something that we, again, can tap into these labor pools and help individuals connect. In terms of veteran services, we actually have a priority of services built into our database. And so when there are veterans that are available that are looking for the types of jobs that employers post, we automatically bump them up, if you will, to the top of the list and give them priority. There's also other veterans employment tax credits that are available for those higher qualified vets. There's a federal work opportunity tax credit is what that's called, besides, some state opportunities, and those types of things can be combined. Intermountain Healthcare, one of the things that they are doing that's different is they provided tuition assistance for individuals that want to upskill, reskill, but they don't wait and do the traditional tuition reimbursement that most employers do. A lot of employers offer tuition reimbursements at a year. Well, Intermountain Healthcare looks at that as maybe not being able to access or disqualifying a certain percentage of the workforce right off the bat when you require degrees or when you require that someone pay for their own training up front, because a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck in some of these lower skilled jobs. And so this is an opportunity for them to provide that tuition assistance up front so that they too have access to these employees that want to move forward that may not be able to cover their own costs and then get reimbursed later. And we see more of that happening, more employers trying to do different types of programs. We talked about this earlier, employer wellness programs, rewarding for being proactive in their health. So we've seen some employers that instead of you paying a certain percentage or a portion of your own health insurance, if you participate in a wellness program, the employer will cover the full amount. And then if you don't, that's a choice. And then, yes, you would have to pay that certain percentage. But when we're looking at things like inflation, that could be one area that if you're not covering your health insurance, you're able to redirect some of those hard-earned dollars to other things that you need to purchase.
That's all great, fabulous information. Now, I think you touched on it just a little bit, Melissa, that there are some gaps in skills during the talent shortage. And that often falls on the employee having to go back to school, get the training and all of that. But then you also mentioned like the Select Health, I believe it was, that they are offering that tuition, not reimbursement, but upfront. So what are you seeing companies kind of lean toward, providing that training, sending people back to school? Or is that still employees need to go get their education first and then come and get these jobs? Or do they need to get their foot in the door first and maybe do a little bit of both?
So, Holly, as Melissa said, there's a skills gap. And one of the things that we strongly believe in is helping job seekers be career resilient and self-seek, increasing their skills and certifications and education and background to be very marketable. Also, we promote employers to offer those kinds of opportunities to their employees. So there is a skills gap that exists. And the biggest skills gap we are hearing from employers and from job seekers is Our soft skills, self-management skills, workplace skills. 87% of grads think that they're well prepared, and where in reality, the majority of employers view it more like 50% prepared. And in addition, employers also view about 92% of executives as underskilled. So upskilling, reskilling are very, very important in the workplace. And so the top 3 hard skills, if you will, needed in the workplace are writing, public speaking, and data analysis. With soft skills, it's problem solving, leadership, and teamwork. So those critical thinking skills, problem solving, and leadership and teamwork are people skills. And so employers and individuals can look to partners such as Workforce Services to help fill those gaps. We provide online, live virtual, and in-person workshops at no cost to participants statewide, along with individualized coaching in any of our offices. And actually, I realized that your podcast reaches more far-reaching than the state of Utah. Somebody could log on to our website and register and take advantage of those workshops and all of our job seeker services. DWS can also support career and education opportunities for eligible individuals, including things like licensing, certification, on-the-job training, and degree programs. Staying career resilient and managing our own careers is one of the best things as job seekers we can do. However, employers would really benefit from offering those kind of opportunities.
And one thing I would probably add to that too, Tracy, I'm glad you mentioned and reminded people that we were here in Utah, but one thing that we need to let people know is that there are American Job Centers, which is what we call Workforce Services Employment Centers, across the United States. So you will find an American Job Center or multiple American Job Centers in every state. And so that's something that I think your listeners should know, that they too could have these types of benefits in the states that they live in as well. So they'll want to check that out. When we talk about those that changed industries, I know we mentioned that previously. When you change careers during the pandemic, that presents an additional skills gap challenge, right? Because you've left one different, maybe hospitality, and moved into manufacturing, or you left manufacturing and now you're in IT. So that in of itself presents an additional challenge or skills gap. We are seeing that employers are looking to not necessarily only require degrees anymore. There are definitely going to be certain positions that you are always going to need a degree. I mean, I don't want a doctor that's going to work on me that has not gone to school and has the proper training, correct? But there are some things, like in the IT field, that really they just need some certifications and not necessarily a degree to do the jobs that they are hiring them for. Now, maybe down the line, they may want a degree. And this is where apprenticeships can come into play. Because when you do an apprenticeship, you are giving them the training that they need for the specific job that they're going to do. And that really gives an employer a better return on investment when they are investing in someone, and especially if they're helping to offset the training costs, because they are guaranteed that that person is going to benefit their company, their productivity, and effectively their bottom line. Not only with new employees, but even with incumbent workers, those that have worked with them for a while, that they know they really want to keep them with their company because, man, they are a rock star. They're solid. They're loyal. They come to work all the time. They're hardly ever sick. When they are, they call in. You know, they do everything the right way, the way that they should. And so those are the individuals that they want to help grow within their company and provide them other opportunities. Again, when you want to retain people, that's what's going to help them, is identifying and letting them see that there is a path for them within that organization, that they could stay, that they just may not know about how to get from point A to point B, and this can help them do that. We've partnered with some national organizations like the Healthcare Career Advancement Program, or what we like to call HCAP. They build the workforce for quality care through workforce development, training resources, and partnering with communities. They have a contract with the Department of Labor to actually expand registered apprenticeships in healthcare nationally. And I know when I've talked about apprenticeships, people's minds usually go to electricians, plumbers, things in the construction trades. Sometimes they think manufacturing, not always, but really there are apprenticeable occupations in every industry. And we're helping grow them more in Utah right now in healthcare and even IT. There's been these non-traditional industries like IT that have seen the benefits of apprenticeships. They've been around for hundreds of years, right? And they've seen the success in construction. So there's probably something we can learn from them. What is it that they're doing? Why are they so successful? And other industries are catching on to that now. We have organizations like Intermountain Healthcare that have really embraced this apprenticeship concept and have some as business analysts in IT functions, in cybersecurity, in biomedical engineering technician, and now they're going to be developing more on the clinical side. We do have apprenticeships in Utah and nationally in pharmacy tech, medical assistants, LPNs, or just really anywhere along that career ladder. We're trying to help them see where they can bridge. And these types of programs also don't have to be separate from each other. It doesn't have to be that, oh, you're going to do an apprenticeship or you're going to go to college. Really, an apprenticeship embraces and encompasses that post-secondary education model. And many of the apprenticeships lead to a degree or give you credit towards a degree. And so, we're seeing them work more and more hand in hand together, that it's not a separate thing anymore. It's really just needs to be seen on an even playing field, that there are many paths to success, whether you're an employer looking to recruit or you're an individual looking to get into that type of job. It's an opportunity there for you.
You've shared so many different points on how companies can compete for that, basically the war of talent, of trying to appeal them and get them over to offer different benefits and train them in those skill gaps. I just the other day was reading something, I think it was on LinkedIn, and from an employee side, she was trying to get the job of her dreams, right? And so she actually had put her resume on a cake, and she done her research, and she knew that some people, that the head honchos were going to be at a certain celebration, and she had arranged for this cake to be delivered to that celebration, and there when they opened it is her resume. So there's that war of the talent for the companies and what they need to add, but there's also what the employees or future employee needs to be able to be willing to go after for themselves. I like something that Theodore Roosevelt said: far and away the best prize that life offers is the chance to work hard at work worth doing, and just finding what that is to each of us, right? But as you shared, there's again so many opportunities through workforce services. But as LinkedIn has shown research, 70% of the global workforces is made up of passive talent, so people not even actively job searching, whereas 90% of those passive talent are interested in hearing about job opportunities. So in addition to workforce services, where can these companies be promoting these jobs and opportunities so that they are getting those that are looking for a job, or maybe not looking for a job? They don't know that they need a new job. Where do these companies need to start promoting?
Some of them need to self-promote and promote within to their own organizations. You need to show people that it's a great place to work. You need to make sure that you have a good company culture so that someone wants to be there. But you need to show them what are all the opportunities, what types of jobs does our own company hire for, and kind of share that. There are your typical areas like LinkedIn, like your Indeed, like Monster, but each state is also going to have these American Job Centers like Workforce Services that can help them as well. If they're involved with their industry associations, like an Associated General Contractors or a Manufacturers Association, those often have workforce development entities or subcommittees, if you will, and opportunities there. Another very important place to find talent is your educational institutions. Each state will have universities, colleges, technical colleges that are training these individuals. And the best way to get a good student or to get a good graduate with the skills that you need is to be involved with their advisory boards. Help them identify what needs to be a part of their curriculum, what certifications are new, what has changed in your industry. Technology changes things all the time. I think back a long time ago when we were doing some things of what we used to call a mechanic. You take your car to the mechanic. You have these big construction trucks that you need mechanics for. Well, they were changing it. Now they are automotive service technicians and diesel technicians. I kid you not, we were in a meeting and someone held up this huge wrench. I mean, it was just huge, probably like half my body size, because it was used on a construction type of equipment. And he said, "These are not your grandfather's jobs. You don't just need this to fix a car or to fix a heavy equipment truck. Now you need this." And it's a little handheld diagnostic computer. And there are so many cars and trucks on the road that you might call someone and say, "Hey, you've got to get your truck off the road. There's something wrong with it." And you're like, "No, it's running fine." No, we actually can see the readings on the computer back at the office, and it's telling us there's something wrong. So bring it in. And that just shows how technology changes things. Well, I wouldn't have known that had the employer not said that. So our educators may not know that either, unless your employers are partnering with education to help them see what those changes are.
Nice. Now, are there any tips on providing a more pleasant, positive, and overall memorable experience to those we're trying to recruit?
I think that the number one thing that comes to mind is employers communicating better with the applicants. We hear a lot about people that are applying for jobs and they're not showing up for the interviews, or they're being ghosted. And I kind of think that employers started ghosting people first. And that's just a personal opinion. That does not represent the agency. That's just something that I feel, because I remember, you go in, you apply for a job. Did the hiring manager really get your application? Did they get your resume? You don't know. No one's told you where you're at in the process. Okay, they looked at your resume. Did you meet the qualifications? No. Okay, just tell me. "I'm sorry, you don't qualify at this time. Please apply another time once you have XYZ skills." Or if someone's had an interview, 2-3 weeks go by. Well, did they offer it to someone else? Am I going to get a second interview? Those are the types of things that I think are going to be memorable and helping them just communicate that. Where are they at in the process? Is there a way online that they can just go in and look? Because, sometimes you have 500 people apply. You can't call them all. But is there a process that you have? Is there even an email that is sent to them that lets them know that they are being considered or not? Because you know what? When we are in a job seekers market and they're interviewing with 2 or 3 employers, they're kind of trying to pick what's best for them, right? And if your job could have been the best fit for you and for them, but you didn't get back to them, they're going to take one of these other opportunities.
Now, my mom used to always share with me, don't quit a job unless you have another job, which I think is very wise advice. And especially for so many today that they just up and leave their job. And it's like, well, where are you going? I don't know. I'll find a job. And it's like, there's this thing called bills. So is there any other advice that you would have, either Tracy or Melissa or both of you, for those looking for a job as well as for those recruiting for jobs?
For those that are recruiting, I'd really, really take a look at your company's processes and how have you embraced diversity and inclusion. We know that that's a big topic right now, but is that all it is for your organization? What are you doing in some of your hiring practices from some of these hidden job seekers that we talked about, this hidden labor market of those that were formerly incarcerated, individuals with disabilities, refugees? What haven't you done before? Maybe developing apprenticeship programs. Look at hiring bonuses, look at referral bonuses. Your best recruitment are from your employees. So do you have a good company culture? Would they recommend to someone else to apply for a job where they're at? And then don't discount hiring people from within. Again, look at those people that have been with you 5-10 years, and maybe they're still in that entry-level position. Why? Is it just because they don't know what else is out there? Is it because they don't have the level of confidence that they would be able to access those jobs, or that they would be good at them, or that they would even be considered? Maybe take a look at that and show them how they can go and have other opportunities within your organization.
A couple things for job seekers that I think would be strategic and helpful is asking for feedback in the process, especially after interviews. If an employer is willing to give some feedback, as difficult as it is to hear and as painful as it might be to hear, that could be the key thing that I can incorporate, or I can say, you know what, this has value to it, and I'm going to give it a shot. That gets you that next job, that gets you your dream job. One of the things I strongly recommend, get your ducks in a row before you start applying for jobs, or get an until job to pay the bills, because maybe you need a job now. So get what I call an until job to pay the bills that allows you the time and the effort to job search. The other thing is just not excluding anybody in your networking process, because networking is still the number one way to get a job. And we're talking in person and making connections with people, or by the phone, or some kind of people interaction, even though LinkedIn is very valuable on a lot of our social media and our technology. But networking is still 80% of people find out about jobs and find about those opportunities through networking and connections with other people.
You have nailed something that every listener needs to make sure that they absorb for a moment, because a part of that networking is we never know when our paths are going to reconnect. And that's where I would also add to that, with that networking, is the importance of leaving a job on a good note, giving notice, and not burning bridges when you leave, because that networking is so crucial in what could be your future job or future prospective job that maybe you don't get because a bridge was burned. So making sure that notice is giving, leaving on a good note, and valuing that networking. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Now, ladies, we have a signature question here on Holly's Highlights, and that is, if you were to go back and encourage, inspire, or equip yourself as a child, what would you tell yourself?
I would explore as many career fields as you can. I think that our education system provides what we call career and technical education opportunities. And in 7th grade, they have this course called the CTE Exploration. And I have kids, one that's 21, one that's 15, and I encourage them to do what I wish I would have done. And that was explore all of these. Take as many of these classes as you can. They are electives, but they are also, you can do something in manufacturing, something in construction, something in business marketing, in sports medicine. There's just so many different things that you can do. Healthcare, construction, automotive, and just learn and see what your strengths are and see what you like and what you don't like. Because honestly, what people think they're going to do is what they see. All you've known about is what mom and dad and grandma and grandpa did, then your view of the world is really small, and you really want to broaden that. And I can't tell you how many people that I talk to that have gone to college, gotten a degree, and they've never worked in that field, or they changed their degree focus 3 or 4 times. That is a really expensive time to do that. Embrace what those classes might be. Embrace what we call work-based learning opportunities. So whether it be an internship or an industry tour where you go out to an employer's facility and learn about what they do, just learn about everything that's in your own backyard. There's so many different things out there. Learn what takes place in your state. What's made there? What can you do there? What would you like to do there? And just be open.
Oh, Melissa, you nailed it. I was at a family camp this summer with my kids, and they were sharing with us that our grandparents probably had one job. Our parents probably had 2 or 3 jobs throughout their lifetime. For us, maybe around 5, but Generation Z is projected to have around 30 or more jobs. And I remember at first thinking, oh my gosh, where's their work ethics? But then I thought, no, like you do. I agree with you, Melissa. You have to find what you love. And I think there was so much wisdom in with what you just shared. Thank you. Tracy, how about for you?
I would tell myself, do what you love. And there's the famous book by Marcia Sinatar, Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. And I love the exploration. And I might even tell myself to go one step further, although is job shadow and experience things firsthand as much as possible and embrace different educational and training opportunities. It doesn't always have to be a traditional pathway. There are so many creative, innovative ways to gain skills and information and really take advantage of all the skills and experience. Take a holistic approach to finding a job, because it doesn't say, you have to put paid experience and skills on your resume. And your interview examples, they can come from your life. And so just embrace different opportunities. I love the exploration and do what you love.
Yes, that makes me think of Confucius's quote of choose a job you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life.
Love it.
I would say that we spend way too much time at work to be unhappy.
Yep. Exactly. Oh, this is fabulous. Ladies, how can our listeners connect with each of you if they want to hear more about anything that you've shared or have any questions for you?
I always encourage everyone to go directly to our website. Go to jobs.utah.gov. If you're an employer, go /employer, and you will find about all the resources that we have there. And even on the main page, you'll see that there's information for job seekers, and then that will take you to everything that we have there for our career and education and apprenticeship programs. And again, each state will have a workforce service type entity or an American Job Center. You just Google that for your state and you'll find it. And most of them will have something online as well. So if you want to learn more about apprenticeships in Utah, go to apprenticeship.utah.gov and you can reach out to us there as well.
Perfect. I like the quote by actor Milton Berle. He says, if opportunity doesn't knock, then build a door. And Tracy, Melissa, I thank you so much for taking time to join us today, because you've helped share that wisdom and experience and talent for opportunity. If that doesn't knock, then to build your door. So thank you so much for sharing with us today and just taking the time to be with us. I really do appreciate both of you very much.
Thank you for having us, Holly. This has been great. This is a passion of mine. I love talking about it, and you do great work.
Thank you.
Yes, you have been so knowledgeable. I've learned a lot from you. I'm going to steal some of your quotes, Holly. So thanks for having us.
Awesome. Always a pleasure. Thank you for joining me on this journey of life. I hope that today's highlight has been encouraging, inspiring, and equipping so you can go out and live your life full of purpose. I'd be honored if you'd take a moment to leave a review, or better yet, subscribe. We can also stay in touch by joining my email list at hollycurby.com. That's HOLLYCURBY.com. Until next time, make it a great day for a great day.